If you were the U.S. men's national team coach and you had to call up a 23-man roster for a World Cup right now, who would you call up? Which would be the 23 players? Because today, that's what we're going to be doing here at the channel. Hi, Senor here, I'm Filippo, and welcome to Tactical Manager TV, and welcome to our best U.S. men's national team roster video update right now. Remember, we update this video every 3 to 4 months with Pete from 11 Yanks, so Pete will be appearing in the video very soon. He gives us his best roster right now. I give you my best roster right now, and you give me which would be your best 23-man roster right now. Now, keep in mind that if a player has a major injury that he's dealing with, like Tyler Adams, that he won't be back till March or April of 2024, we can't really include him in the video. However, if the player has a minor injury like Tim Ream that should be back in a week or two, we can include him in this video. Okay, so we're gonna bring in Pete very soon, and you can drop a like in this video if you haven't already to help the YouTube algorithm, and you can share this if you're a dog, mom, cat, or that person you don't like. Okay, let's bring in Pete from 11 Yanks and start giving you our best USMNT roster right now. Okay, everyone, we're back with the update here. Every 3 or 4 months, me and Pete go on both channels and we do different updates on rosters. For 11 Yanks, we do a projection of what a 2026 roster might look like after we get a few camps in. And here at the channel, we do the best U.S. men's national team roster now. So before we even start, I don't have to introduce Pete. One thing to make it clear. It would essentially be if we had a World Cup right now, who would we bring and why? So I just want to make one thing clear right away. Tyler Adams and Koleosho won't be mentioned in this video probably because they're out for the next like 4 to 5 months, so they can't be included. Players with minor injuries that are returning, we can include them. I'm going to give an example like Tim Ream. He's out for another week or two when we're recording this, so it's totally fine if you want to bring in Tim Ream. And that's the video we're going to do. It's a 23-man roster. You can drop a like in the video if you want to. And Pete, how are we doing?
Doing good, man. It's been a while since we've done one of these. I think before the Gold Cup or before the Nations League we did this, right? No, we did it right after Gold Cup.
First one since Berhalter returned.
Yeah, first one since Berhalter's back. So
Yeah.
I guess for this one it doesn't matter because this is what we would do. For mine, it's going to be different because that's based on what Greg would do.
Exactly. And yours is like also what we think Greg will do and projecting like 2.5 years from now, which you have to sort of guess what he will do, how players will develop. While ours is like, what do we want now? It's just our opinion right now. And if a player's injured, like Tyler Adams would be a lock in the roster, at least for my roster and for yours for sure. But he's not going to be on this one. He's out at least till March, probably more. Yeah. So let's get to it. And it's funny because it's going to be a 23-man roster, and we'll start the goalkeepers. And goalkeepers, usually when we have these videos, it's like super easy. We already know these three. It's not the case right now, is it?
No, it's not the case. And you know what? You can make arguments for lots of different guys. Everybody has some kind of a weakness. Like very few people. Obviously, Turner is still our number one, and he's still locked in on the roster at least. But other than that, is there anybody that you could say we for sure have locked in on the roster outside of Turner? Not necessarily. And even Turner, you could argue with his form recently, who knows what's going to happen with him in the future.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think I put this on Twitter the other day. So we go, Matt Turner is in awful form right now and has been for quite a bit. Then you have players like, for example, Roman Celentano and Patrick Schultz that were very good in MLS, but I'm like not sure on their level. You know, when you look at a player like, hey, this is promising, but would you start him for the national team? Probably not. And then what else? Like Drake Callender seems like an okay, like third option to have.
I'll be honest, Schultz, Callender, and Celentano all kind of seem on the same level right now. Like good MLS keepers, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything.
It's just two of them are younger. That's the only thing. So they're promising. Then you have Chris Brady, far from ready, but just a promising young goalkeeper. Yeah. Gabriel Sonina, far from ready, but just a very promising young goalkeeper. Ethan Horvath would be another option. The dude can't even make the bench for Nottingham Forest. He's going to go back to Major League Soccer or go to Major League Soccer. Zach Steffen has just not been Zach Steffen for like years at this point.
Yeah.
Some people were commenting, say, what about Josh Cohen's guys? have any of you been watching Maccabi Haifa? I don't know. We'll see when he's in MLS. But if he was good enough, he was playing in the Champions League. I'm pretty sure if he was good enough, some team would have scouted him and he would have stayed in Europe. Josh Cohen. He played in the Champions League last season for Maccabi Haifa. So
yeah, it's a little bit like PFOC scoring against Manchester United. People were like, "Oh, PFOC scored against Man United. He should be a lock starter for us." It's like if you play for a small team that happens to be in the Champions League and you can have a few standout performances, that overall doesn't mean your level necessarily, right? It's consistency. And like you said, nobody picked up Josh Cohen. He might not even be the number one in Atlanta, which would be hilarious.
Brad
They
Guzan.
buy him and they still start Brad Guzan.
Oh my God. How is Brad Guzan?
Guzan's like 44 years old. He's not allowed to walk on doctor's orders, but they still have him in goal.
Dude, Brad Guzan is almost old enough to be my father.
Dude, he's what? How old is he? Let me look.
He's got to be in his 40s at this point. And he tore his Achilles, and somehow he's back. Like, when he tore his Achilles, it was very upsetting because I was kind of like, it's not really the way you'd want him to end his career. But it felt like to me that his career was over, Brad Guzan, when he tore his Achilles. He came back and was still a star, no matter how slow he looks, no agility.
Well, but let's be honest, because it's MLS.
Still, he shouldn't be playing. He's below MLS
Still,
level.
he shouldn't. But the thing about MLS, and we see this more and more every season, is it's not really so much about how you perform. It's not so much about that. It's more about he's on a big salary, we have to start him, or he's an ex-national team goalkeeper, we have to start him. There's also no competition.
Or he has the same haircut as Greg Berhalter.
Right. There's also no competition. Like, teams don't have enough money to spend on a decent backup goalkeeper. Right. So no matter how shit you are in goal, you're probably going to play. That's kind of how it is in MLS, which is, this is what it is. Like,
we might have to do a whole separate episode talking about those issues in MLS, or probably not. But
which are getting worse, not better. But yeah.
Yeah. We're going to go on to the goalkeepers here. So Matt Turner, we both agreed, let's put him in the roster. We'll bring him right now. There's not many options. I would honestly bring two other players if we have a World Cup right now. I would bring Ethan Horvath just because it's kind of like the one I've seen the most reliable out of all of them, even though I don't trust him too much. And then the other one I would bring would be Patrick Schulte right now, mainly because of form. We saw him win MLS Cup. He performed well during it. I would probably bring him right now just because of that. But again, this is literally a list that if you ask me 2-3 months from now, I might change 2 out of the 3 goalkeepers.
Yeah. So I have Turner and Horvath the same. Real quick on Horvath. Horvath has demonstrated pretty much his entire career that even when he's not playing regularly, he can step in and do a job, right? We saw this, for example, against Mexico in the Nations League final. We've seen it at teams where he was the backup and then he quickly had to become a starter or, come in for a few games, whether that was in Norway from Moda or whether that was in Belgium. People forget Horvath played well in the Champions League, and maybe it's a little bit of Josh Cohen comparison, but even for us, he's played quite well when asked to step in, which is
he also had that Italy game.
That Italy game?
Didn't he start for us against Italy once?
That was way back in 2017.
That was it 2017 or 2018? Well,
2017, no, was the Portugal game. Against Portugal, right after we didn't qualify for Cuba, there was a friendly. He started.
So it was 2018. 2018 that he played against Italy.
Maybe it was 2018, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's always kind of been there. He's never going to be an elite. It'll be interesting to see where he goes this January. Berhalter hinted that he's getting his situation sorted out this January. My money's probably either on the championship or MLS. I think MLS is more likely, to be honest.
Yeah. And who's your third goalkeeper?
My third is Gaga. Mainly because he's playing in a league where there's actual consequences for not playing well. And he's, I like that he's getting better with his feet. I like that he's being forced to play with his feet, even under pressure. And he's like Brady. He's not ready for the senior national team yet. So if you want to say Celentano, Schulte, Gaga, like the third goalkeeper, it's just similar levels for me. I mean, obviously Gaga has more potential, so I'd bring him right now.
So you're more of like, let's bring Gaga, but let's hope we don't have to play Gaga, Celine.
But just anybody that I put there, if it's Schulte, I hope I don't have to play him either. Because we've seen before, playing well in MLS doesn't mean you're going to play well for the national team, right? So, I don't know. Hopefully Schulte, I just want one of Schulte, Celentano, or Callender to become really good.
Yeah,
the problem is all of them are limited with their feet also.
The MLS thing you said, just to add context, in the past it did work. some players that played in MLS, like Landon Donovan, for example, would go on and play well for the national team while playing in MLS. But we're talking about American players that were among the best players in MLS. Like Donovan was like among the best players in MLS in his history, for example. Now,
Yeah.
the Americans that are in Major League Soccer currently, they're not the best American players. They're not the best MLS players. The best
No.
players in MLS are foreign. So that just to make that clear of what we're referring to, because someone will bring up like, but Landon played in MLS. He was probably the best player or top 3 among the best in MLS. And in history, he's probably the best performer in MLS's history or the biggest winner in MLS history. But that
Well,
goes
also,
on.
what I'm saying is being good in MLS doesn't mean you're going to necessarily be good in for the national team. It doesn't mean you can't be. For example, Matt Turner, when he was playing for New England, was still a good goalkeeper for us. So it's. I'm just saying that like being good in MLS, it's like maybe if you're really good in MLS, you get a look or an opportunity here and there, but your form in MLS doesn't mean that's going to carry over to the national team. In fact, we've seen more often than not it doesn't, such as in the World Cup.
In the 2022 World Cup, every single MLS player we played, besides Walker Zimmerman, looked completely out of their place. Like it looked like they didn't belong there at all.
Yeah.
But moving on, getting ahead of ourselves, fullbacks. I would bring 3 fullbacks right now only 3. I would actually not have 4.
Same.
So I'd bring Des, Scally, and A-Rob. I would not bring a 4th fullback.
Yeah, because I mean we'll talk about this more later, but we have Tim Weah, who can play as a fullback in an absolute pinch. We have Dest, who can play both sides. Scally can play both sides. Richards and Trusty can both play fullback in a pinch. So for me, it's not really. Even Kevin Paredes could play left back in a pinch too. There's no need to bring a third fullback.
And if you're Thomas Tuchel, even Pulisic can play there.
Yeah, exactly. No, or McKennie too. Technically,
McKennie too. That's Tyler Adams once he's back. Not now. He can play right back. I mean, Greg has played Tyler as a right back a long time ago.
Should we just talk real quick about the other fullback options, right? Because mostly it's left backs, okay? There's Wiley, there's Tolkien, there's Dewan Jones, and there's Christopher Lund at left back, who are kind of all in the mix. To me, all of them similar. Not like Lund might be more technical, but Lund doesn't even start full-time for Palermo anymore, doesn't he? He comes like intermittent starter.
He's definitely a starter, but I've seen him rotate out, and he's usually subbed out early for some reason.
Yeah. I mean, I like Lund. Don't get me wrong. I don't have a problem with Lund being on the roster, but I don't know is the margins between him, Wiley, Tolkien, Dewan Jones, even like let's say Brian Reynolds would be another right back option. After that, it really starts to plummet. Marlon Fossey, like who's Yedlin Moore. There's nobody that stands out and says, this is the 4th spot. I deserve it. I earn it,
Well, if A-Rob can't go, you either throw Scally on the left back or Dest and put Scally on the right back, whichever you prefer. And if you don't want to do that, like Trusty is playing as a very defensive-oriented left back in the Premier League right now, so he can hold his own on the left back and just have a more defensive left back. And in that case, you just have Christian Pulisic. He doesn't have to track back as much. There's other benefits from that. So no, that doesn't make sense because the drop-off is too big until someone else rises. So we have the same fullbacks, the 3 fullbacks, Scally, Dest, and A-Rob. I have 5 center backs, actually. Do you?
I have 4 center backs.
4? So let me give you my 5. Ream, I would still bring Tim Ream right now, even though he's recovering from a minor calf injury. Chris Richards, Carter Vickers, John Brooks, and Austin Trusty. Trusty because he can also play left back. And then I do want to give a shout out to one player. I haven't had the opportunity to really watch him. His name is Dietz from Fürth in the 2nd division of Germany.
Dietz, yeah.
Yeah, the thing is, a few people I trust have talked about him to me. He said he's looking very competent there, very good on the ball. He apparently played as a midfielder, so he's young. He's a dual national. He was with our Olympic team. I just want to give a shout out to that because as a player I want to watch out for, because when you look at other young center backs like Josh Winder's injured with Benfica B, Kobe Henry, we haven't heard much of him in France. Brennan Craig, what the heck is happening there? Justin Che disappeared and then got injured. So we're looking for another big young player to step up like Richards has done, and I think he's a fair shout right now. But the 5 would be Ream, Richards, Carter Vickers, Brooks, and Trusty.
Okay. I only have 4. So for me, it's Richards, Trusty, CCV, and Ream. Trusty because even though Sheffield is struggling in the Premier League, he's doing well enough there, I think, that upper championship, lower Premier League level for him and he's a left-footed center back, so he would be my backup to Ream. For me, it's still Richards and Ream. That's our starting pair for me. Not everyone agrees. Berhalter may or may not agree, at least until Ream shows worse. Because for now, I think he's fine. Not perfect, not ideal, but the best of the battle. I don't have Brooks there just because the problem with Brooks, as much as I love Brooks, I don't know if would he be the backup to Ream? Yes. The problem is with Brooks, the way we would play, I don't know. Is he gonna? I guess it's hard to know with Brooks because he has some really good games for Hoffenheim, and then he just makes these terrible errors, just like schoolboy errors. Lack of concentration, whiffs on something, and then bang. Still our best passing center back, though.
Yeah, what's weird about Brooks is like on an average day, he's really good. He's very competent and the best ball playing defender we have, still best defender on the ball. He has these lapses where he kind of turns off out of nowhere and falls asleep. Yes, like somewhat what Dest does sometimes, John Brooks, even though he seems like a more serious figure than Dest. That's my only concern with John Brooks. But when you look at like the player profile of John Brooks and Tim Ream, they share similar weaknesses besides concentration. Tim Ream is far more focused, very less error prone, right? Less error prone. But the weaknesses of like being slow and not being able to play really a high line with each other, be good on the ball. They're both technical players.
Yeah.
That's why I would bring Brooks. He's almost like my Tim Ream replacement right there, if anything. And then I would play him alongside Chris Richards. But that's fair too. If you like, you wouldn't bring. You're giving him the Berhalter treatment, aren't you? You're a Berhalter apologist.
Cancel me. No, I have Trusty. I just have Trusty there because I think he also is my cover for left back. John Brooks can't play left back. So
no. Well, that's why I brought 5. I have Trusty too. That's why I brought 5.
Yeah.
So you probably have more midfielders.
I have more.
Miles Robinson.
No, I think that if Miles Robinson wants to stay in the national team program, he needs to move to Europe, and not just move to Europe, but also demonstrate that he can improve and perform at a high level. And it looks like what we're seeing now is that might not happen. Looks like as a free agent, he can get his money bag, and he's 26, so he's entering his prime. If he spends his prime in MLS, he should be done with the national team. Not just because he's in MLS, but because we know his level. We've seen his level, what it is, right? A very athletic center back, generally okay in the air. Passing is terrible. Positioning is terrible. One-on-one defending can be really awful at times. In MLS, let's be honest. So I think the only way for him to really improve as a center back is to move to Europe. And if he refuses to do that, that tells you everything about his mentality. And it also tells you he's not going to get better playing in MLS. He's just not.
Yeah, he usually overcomes some poor defending with his athleticism. He'll have some
which
poor
you can get away with in MLS sometimes.
Yeah, it's a bit tougher when you're playing at the highest level. You get punished a lot easier. Plus, you have to be at least mildly decent on the ball, which he is not. But going on, the center backs, midfielders, you have 7 then? Am I right or no?
Actually, no. I have 6 midfielders.
Oh, me too.
Yeah. You want to go first or should I?
Go ahead. I feel like our midfield is going to be the same with 6, but go ahead. Without Tyler Adams, who are your 6?
With no Adams, it actually makes it quite easy. For me, it's Johnny, Luka, McKennie, Musa, Gio, and Tillman.
Yeah, I can't argue. And let's say Tyler was available. Replace Luka or Johnny?
Right now, Johnny. But I would say it's close. Luka's a bit more versatile than Johnny, but Johnny is younger and his trajectory seems to be higher than Luka's.
I would keep Johnny for one main reason. If you look at the players you listed, none of those midfielders are defensive-oriented midfielders, right?
If Adams is there, then I have Adams.
No, yeah, but I'm just saying, like, Johnny is the backup. If Adams can't go, or you want to go a bit more defensive, or Adams is in the day off, your other option is only midfielders that their primary role is usually not to defend. Luka, Musa, while Johnny has been a pure 6 for Internacional. So he would technically be the way I divided it when I was doing this list was I put without Tyler, obviously, but with Tyler, I usually put Tyler as the starting 6, Johnny as the backup. Musa and McKennie battling out for another position, and then Gio and Malik battling out for another position with Gio still ahead of Malik, in my opinion, regardless of form.
Yeah.
Because we do know the level of the Eredivisie. So we take Malik is great, but I still think Gio is a better player.
Yeah.
So midfield we have the same. We have the same, and I think
We have the same. I also depends who we're playing. Like I wouldn't probably play a destroyer if we were playing a CONCACAF game.
true.
You know, I'd probably play Musa at the 6. So it really just depends who we're playing. If we're playing Germany, yeah, we might have 1 or even 2 destroyers, like Johnny and Adams with Gio in front of them. No, but you can't. I wouldn't bench McKennie. That's the problem.
Well, if we play like Brazil in the Copa America, put Gio at the 10 and then put Johnny and Adams to do the dirty work behind him.
Yeah, the problem is then McKennie. Getting McKennie on the field, I think, is important because
put him as the right back. No, I'm joking.
Honestly, there's a universe where I might put him at right wing.
We talked about this once.
I would put Weston at right wing before I would put Gio at right wing.
Yeah. I mean, Juve loves pushing Weston McKennie out wide like a right winger, right midfielder. So even when he's playing central, he drifts out wide almost like a winger at times.
Yeah.
Winger. So this is probably where we have a different number. You have 4 wingers? Because I have 3.
4 wingers, yeah.
That's what it is. So go first because you have 4.
So I have Pulisic and Weah. Those are obvious. My other 2 right now are Kevin Paredes and Brendan Aronson. But this is right now. And I know there are a lot of people who are saying Aronson shouldn't be on the team anymore. Who do you replace Aronson with? If Koleosho is healthy and commits to us, yes, but Koleosho is not available. So for me, it's still Brendan Aronson. Who do you have?
I have Pulisic, Weah, and Aronson because for the same reasons you said it. I thought about it more and more and more, and I was just like, okay, do I expect to play Aronson? No. Is there any situation where Aronson could be useful? There is actually a few situations where, like, if you're late in the game just trying to hold a result and need a guy to run around like a headless chicken, just pressing everyone and knocking it down. Aronson is more like people are gonna hate to hear this, man. They're gonna hate this, Pete. Aronson right now for the national team is more useful than Kevin Paredes.
Yes,
more useful.
Probably.
Not better, not more talented, but he's more useful. I don't see where I would ever utilize Paredes. If I need a goal, I'm not sending in Paredes for Pulisic or Weah. Neither am I sending Aronson. Now, if I need to hold a result, I'm not sending in Paredes either. But Aronson can have some. We saw that in the Nations League. You put him to harass Alphonso Davies, he gets that done. At least that.
Yeah, he can do a job. He can do a very specific job.
So
but if Pulisic is injured and you have to put on Aronson, we're in trouble.
Yeah, that's probably a situation where I throw Malik Tillman on the wing because he played for PSV there.
Yeah.
That's probably what I would do.
You could also push Jorginho Dest up the field and bring on Scally. Like there are lots of different options that I would do.
McKennie that you said. You said McKennie too.
Yeah, you could put McKennie wide and bring on another midfielder. Like there are a lot of things I would do before bringing Aronson on. I would only bring Aronson on for a very specific role and honestly, a very limited time. Like if we're leading with half an hour to go, I probably wouldn't bring Aronson on.
10
might
minutes.
Be the 86 minute, sub. Like
yeah, and just say run until you can't run anymore, dude. Just
or give him defensive responsibilities. Help out Dest with the defending side. Don't let us get overloaded on the wings. Press in this particular situation. Whatever. But
essentially, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just saying, but it's not for long.
Essentially, the role that Greg Berhalter wanted Areola to do, but better than Areola. That's it.
Yes. Yeah. He's also not the same level as Areola. Anybody saying that I don't think that's true.
No, he's better than Areola.
He's better than Areola, guys. He can do things at least that Areola cannot do. Remember, you're comparing Aronson's form in the Bundesliga and in the Premier League to MLS. It's just not close. Aronson would be a DP in MLS and probably one of the best players on his team, depending on which team he went to.
I mean, he kind of was when he left. Philly was really good. They won the Supporters' Shield, and he was
he wasn't. I wouldn't say he was one of their best players. I think he was promising, but I think by now he would be.
Well,
he was a locked-in starter.
Locked-in starter for a team that won the Supporters' Shield. So now imagine him now. People will like to disagree with this or not. He played at such a high level these years, like high level competition. If he goes back to MLS, he's a better player. He's a better 100%. Player. So 100%. Yes. Center forwards, you have 3? You have to have 3.
I have 3 center forwards.
I think we have the same ones because 2 are locks, Balogun and Pepe.
Yeah, Balogun and Pepe are locks. I have Sargent because he's also versatile, right? Yeah. He can play on the wing. There's another. Honestly, I would probably bring Sargent on before I would bring on Aronson. because Sargent is a better attacker than Aronson, in my opinion. He's showed versatility. He does a lot of dirty defensive work. And when you're defending and attacking set pieces, Sargent offers you a lot more than Aronson does. He can play as a forward. He can play, if you want to go two up top, he can even play as a midfielder if you need him to. So I have Sargent there.
No, I had Sargent too. He can play as a winger. We've seen him play as a winger. More technical too. He can hold the ball up top if you need him to. He can combine better. He's not perfect, and he probably wouldn't get many minutes in this roster, but I would probably go with him before I go with Aronson. Aronson's probably that infamous 23rd man of the roster. That's like probably won't see the field.
Now, yes.
Yeah. He will never see the field with this roster. But again, if you need him for like 5 minutes to go just hold a result, he can work. But as other players push themselves and improve, he's a player that when we do your video for 2026, he might not make the projected roster. But enough of this one. This is our best U.S. men's national team roster right now. You can let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. What would be your roster for the United States if you had a World Cup right now in December? Like if we had a World Cup in the Middle East, which they have to put it during the winter here, what would be your roster? Thank you very much for watching, everyone. Drop a like before you go and have a great day. Bye-bye.